Can you hear me now? All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. The water for that. So Lord willing, you know. So like overcoming the cold. So like I read again, Psalms 122 and verse 1. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. So you got to be glad in these last days. And the reason why, this is Deuteronomy. Real quick, let me get this right quick. Deuteronomy. Because this is what happened to the nation of Israel. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28. Through the Spirit. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And I'm going to start at verse. So like this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 47, and it reads, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. So the Israelites and our forefathers and our foremothers, you know, because we didn't serve the Lord with joyfulness and with gladness. Because what did the Lord give us? And what do you have that came from the Lord? Of course, you got your hearing, to some that may have it, your vision, and you know you're able to have strength. You're able to use your body to glorify the Lord, to make an honest living. And what else do you have? You have children. You know, you have a mom or father. To those that may still have them living, you know, you may have a land, you may have food, you may have a car, you may have a house. Whatever the Lord has given you, you should be glad. And most importantly, laws, statutes, and commandments, to be able to show you how to maneuver wherever you go. Because as a nation of king, priests, and princesses, you know, so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native American, the Lord has brought us from many things and taken us to many places. So it says, once again, Deuteronomy 28:47, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And that's Psalms 107 and verse 10 on exactly what that looks like and what that felt like. You know, we sat in darkness. We was in a place of not knowing who we are, and some still trying to find out who they are. You know, some still kind of all praises the water. Some still are in a place where they can reassure themselves on who they are as a nation of people. Even though you and I may have understand this point on where we had came from and what we had stolen from us and our identity, there's still others that are reclaiming that and are still finding that. That's why we're still in this position, having to teach, having to go over the law, statutes, commandments, having to continue to do the things that we continue to do on a day-to-day basis, on a week-out, week-in basis. You know, so like the lesson says, it says, get in my house in order before World War III, courting, dating, and marriage. Now, you got to understand this. Now, the Lord has similitudes and allegories and dark sayings in the scriptures to where it has a different meaning. Like it says in Job chapter 11 and verse 6, things are double to that which it is, and how it's being worded and labeled. Now, your house can consist of many things. Now, I want to get this real quick. This is 2 Corinthians 5 and 1. You know, you gotta, some may have a wife, you know, or a woman may have a husband. You know, that's considered your house, you know, as well as your mind. You know, that's considered your house. So before World War III comes, because World War III, and we're going to touch on it, Lord willing, World War III is in the scriptures. It's prophesied to happen. It's not something that was made up. It's not something that the Israelites just only came up with. And now you're looking at the Israelites like the black Hebrew Israelites that the world proclaims the nation as. And you're looking at us like we are hate speech. But you got to go towards those that lie. You know, because the word of the Most High in the scriptures is the truth. And it's being revealed in these last days. Now this is 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 1, and it reads, "For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, and a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens." So our forefathers, Apostle Paul, as well as the other apostles and the prophets, they knew that we were from dust to ashes, you know, and the Lord spoke about it in Genesis. Now let me get this in Genesis, you know, because our earthly tabernacle is where our spirit is dwelling in, that the Most High put his spirit in these tabernacles. Now this is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 19, and it reads, Genesis 3:19, "And the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it," so it says, "for out of the ground, for out of it was thou taken." Slugging. "For out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return." So the Lord said we're going to return to dust, you know. And we got to understand that, you know, the creator of the heavens and earth has made his creation from the elements of everything that is in the society. Now I want to get this real quick. In Job, this is Job. Let me see if this is what I want. Job chapter 34 and verse 15, and it reads, Job chapter 34:15, "All flesh shall perish together, and man shall turn again unto dust." Now, if we be risen with the Lord, the Messiah, you know, then your flesh is going to be different, and you can read about that in 1 Corinthians 15. My pages are coming loose. I'm gonna have to get a different Bible. Now you can read about I don't want to get into a lot of this, but this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and I'm gonna start at verse 50. Now this is going into immortal, a new body, you know, because if we get redeemed by the Messiah, he's going to make things new. So this is 1 Corinthians 15, and I'm going to start at verse 50, and it reads, "Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Most High God, neither do corruption inherit incorruption." And it is not just only talking about, you know, your physical flesh, because things of your flesh, like the wickedness of the flesh, you know, so it's going into a deeper aspect, not just only, you know, you touching on the flesh, it's going into a deeper aspect. You know, the wickedness of the flesh as well is not going to inherit and see the kingdom of heaven. So on another level, could be more than a twofold, could be a threefold, you know, the newness that the Lord is going to give us, not being able to die, because we know the Messiah was risen from the dead, you know, through his Father and his Father's power, through the spirit and the power of Yahweh given to Yahweh Shah to conquer death. So if you get redeemed, you brought into that newness that the Lord is going to come with, you're not going to be able to die. I'm not trying to make this a lesson on that, but just speaking about things that we will get, Lord willing, if we endure to the end. And I also wanted to get this in 2 Maccabees as well, in the Apocrypha. Now, like we always like to remind others to get them Apocrypha. If you don't have one, it's good to have. You know, if you can see, it has 14 books. If you can see that. So this is 2 Maccabees chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 20. 2 Maccabees chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 29, and it reads. Let me see. Yeah, this one coming in part 2, but hey, all praise to the Most High. You did. Hey, if your Bible is not coming apart, you need to put some work in. You need to put some work in and get the dust off of them. Now this is 2 Maccabees chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 29, and it reads: "For as the master builder of a new house must care for the whole building, But he that undertaketh to set it out and paint it must seek out fit things for the adorning thereof. Even so, I think it is with us. So when we building this house, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're courting, whether you're married, or whether you know it's just you and your children, you know, you gotta watch over everything, especially as a parent. If you're a husband, as well as if you're a wife, you know, you gotta tend. If you're a woman, you gotta tend for the things that you ought to tend of, and to tend to, because a single woman has different duties than a married woman. You know, a single woman, she probably don't have no children, and if that's the case, because we understand a lot of things that may go on in this society. If that's the case, if the single woman does have children, well, she has to build up her children in a fashion and the form of righteousness, according to the word of the Lord. And if you're a married woman that may have children or may not have children, if you don't have children, that married woman has to tend to her husband, you know, if she can't have children. And if that woman does have children, now she has her husband to look after and she has the children to look after. So it's a way of ordering and structuring your house and things you want to take care of, or else you despising what the Lord gave you. And if you despise what the Lord gave you, then you putting yourself in a position to get judgments from the Most High, because the Most High is going to give every man judgments. Now, I want to read this real quick, being that I said that. Got to prove it with the word of the Most High, Yahweh, and his son, Yahweh Shah. Now, this is Matthew chapter 16. And I'm going to start at verse 27. This is red letters. So you already know what red letters is. It's the Messiah speaking. This is Matthew in the so-called New Testament, chapter 16 and verse 27. And it reads, "For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels. And then he shall reward every man according to his works." So the Most High, the Messiah, when he comes back, he's going to reward every man according to what they've done. Even if you was wicked, the Lord is going to reward you. If you're striving for righteousness, the Lord is going to reward you. Now, what does that look like? Now, this is Revelation chapter 22. Let me get this in Revelation 22 real quick. Revelation chapter 22. And I'm going to start at verse, I believe I want to start at verse 11, but I may go up a little bit more. Now, I want to start at verse 7. This is the return of the Lord. Now, the return of the Lord, you also can read it in 2 Peter as well. But this is Revelation chapter 22 and verse 7, and it reads, "Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book." Now, I want to go down to verse 11. Revelation 22 and 11. "He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he that is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still." Because you're not just going to change in a blink of an eye. When things start to happen, when World War III is happening, and when the economy is changing, and when the new world order is coming to its form of structure, on how the elites wanted to be formed. You know, just like whoever might have did something or had an addiction or might have started drinking, or whomever might have started smoking, or whomever might have got introduced into whatever you may have been introduced to. Things just don't form overnight. You know, it's a pattern of sequences that had to take place. And so the same thing, just like me, when I started my relationship with the Lord, just like you, when you started your relationship with the Lord, and just like the next person that started their relationship with the Lord, or anybody that may have started their relationship with wickedness, things just don't just change drastically. You know, you can't just change, you know, and say, okay, I'm gonna just stop being wicked. You know, it's a pattern of things, unless the Lord has you in a whole different aspect. You know, unless the Lord has you in a whole different aspect of changing, or just a drop of a dime. The Lord can do it. You know, we're not saying he can't, but you got to protect yourself and know yourself and examine yourself. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. You know, if you're not examining yourself, then you're on your way to being the worst case that you ever been, because you just, you know, you just lost sight of very important things. Now I also want to get this in 1 Timothy. I want to get this in 1 Timothy real quick. 1 Timothy chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 5, and it reads, 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of Most High God? So this is something that you got to think about if you're striving to be a man of God, and if you're striving to be a woman of God. How can you take care of the church of the Lord, you know, and you can't take care of your house, you know? This is, read it one more time, 1 Timothy 3 and 5. For if a man know not to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? Even myself, you know. How in the world am I able to tend to the church of God if I can't tend to my own house? If I can't keep my house in subjection? Not just whomever's in my house, but myself as well, starting first. Because it first starts with you. It first starts with me. So how can we tell somebody else to follow the Lord and his words and his stands and his commandments and his statutes if I'm myself, or if you yourself, us both, whomever is watching this, and if we just doing whatever, you know, just being hypocrites, just being devilish, demonic, just being downright filthy and abominable, you know, the Lord is soon going to send judgment, you know, going to expose us if we are walking in the fashion and the form of just doing anything, and we telling other people they got to do this and they got to do that. You know, it doesn't make sense, and it's not right. You know, and so therefore, if you are on the path of courting and dating, and we're going to clear up that confusion, because courting and dating is two different aspects. It's not how the world looks at it. It's not how the world understands, as far as how the Bible consisted and states it as, you know, because courting and dating is not on the same lines on how it should be viewed as far as righteousness. You know, and marriage, you know, and we're going to touch on that. But before you get to that, you got to count the cost. You got to understand what you're getting yourself into. Because if you are aspiring to be a husband, or if you are on the path of being a husband, or if you're aspiring to be a wife, or if you're on the path of being a wife, or if you are on the lines of just want you want to do things right, but you don't know where to start. You got to count the cost, you know. That's just like buying a major purchase. Now, do you have all that you need to make this purchase? So counting the cost on a spiritual level, on a biblical level, do you have everything it is that requires for you to make this purchase? Now, becoming a wife, becoming a husband, becoming a leader, because that's what it boils down to. You know, it's a role of a leader. You know, if you have children, you got to be a leader. If you have a spouse, you got to be a leader. And even if you're not married, even if you're not in a relationship, you may be over many others, you know, in the congregation. Hey, you got to have the aspect to be a leader. You got to have that ambition. You got to have that drive. You got to have that dog and that fight in you, you know. And we understand some like to use the term dog because, you know, you may came from a background of playing sports, you know. So you got to have that dog in you to be a wife. You know, you got to have that dog in you to be a husband. Because there's many things that you have to do. And it's a laborer's task. Because like the Lord said, hate not laborer's work. And it's a wrap, you know, in the book of Ecclesiastes. But this is Luke chapter 14 and verse 28. And it reads, I'm going to start at verse 27. This is mighty. Luke 14 and 27. And whosoever, this is the Messiah speaking at that. This is red letters. Luke 14 and 27. And whatsoever, it's like, and whosoever doeth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Now a disciple is a student, if you can understand. A student is somebody that's learning. And we all should be students in these last days. You know, learning, getting better, understanding the Lord's word better, understanding ourselves better, and what our weaknesses are, and what our strengths are, so we can use it to glorify the Most High, and use it for the magnifying of the ministry, and magnifying of the Holy Father, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. You know, so the Lord said, if you don't bear your cross, you're not gonna be known or viewed as His disciple. You know, which is on another level is known as a student. You know, so if you high and mighty, then you're thinking that you don't need a shepherd. You know, because a student has a teacher. Who was the teacher according to Paul, John, Bartholomew, Matthew? Who was their teacher? It was the Messiah. It was Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, the anointed, the righteous. So who's our teacher? It's the Lord. You know. So He said, if you don't bear your cross, if you don't deal with all of these pains, if you don't deal with all of this turmoil, if you don't deal with all of this affliction, if you don't deal with all of these heartaches, you might have been in this relationship, and you might have been in this relationship, you might have got it wrong in the past, you're trying to figure out how to get it right. If you're just saying, oh, you know, I give up, you know, you very well are giving up on something that the Lord views as beautiful, you know, because the Lord called marriage honorable. You know, the Lord said children are, you know, a blessing and a heritage, you know. So you may be giving up on some of the greatest things the Lord want to bring forth in your life and towards others. You know, verse 27, Luke 14:27. And whosoever doeth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower, sit it not down first and counted the cost? So you got to count the cost. If you want to get yourself into a position of being in a relationship, because being in a relationship isn't just you being selfish. You're supposed to be in a relationship to glorify the Lord, to bring forth the righteousness of the Lord, whether you're a man or a woman, you know. For which of you intended to build a tower, sit it not down first and counted the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it. So you want to make sure you have what it takes and what it requires before you get yourself in a position to be in the acquaintance of being a husband or a wife. And that should be the goal. Now, verse 29, least happily, Luke 14:29, least happily after he had laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that, behold, it began to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. So you want to make sure you have faith, you know. You want to make sure you have the works, you know, laws, statutes, commandments, you know, because you're definitely going to need that when you're in a relationship, because that's going to show you how to treat another, you know. That's going to show you how to deal with that wrath, you know, because we may have been in a relationship with others that was very well wrathful, you know, mean, arrogant, demonic, you know. And if you don't know how to utilize and go about things, and you just try to figure out, can I go about it my own way, you're going against the grain. You're going against the Heavenly Father. And that's not going to remove you from that situation spotted. That's not going to remove you from that situation unspotted or blameless. So you may be in a situation where you could have came out of that situation, but if you're not using what the Lord gave you, then you may very well get spotted. And you may very well be guilty of such things, you know, regardless if that person cheated on you, or regardless if that person lied or stole or did something that was very well demonic and evil. And if you seek vengeance your own self, you can come out of that situation worse than you went in. So this is what this lesson is in awareness of. But you also got to understand World War III is on the rise. So I'm gonna get this in 2 Peter. Now this is 2 Peter, because this is Lord willing, this will be a series of what we can continue to go along with, what we need to be aware of in these last days. So getting my house in order before World War III. There's many things we could touch on as the fisherman for Zion based on this topic. It's not just courting dating and marriage. You know, getting your household in order before World War III. You got to understand, when according to prophecy of the scriptures, World War III, at the peak of World War III, this is when the Lord is going to return. You know, so there's many things that we need to order and structure before the Lord returns, before the missiles drop, before the bombs drop. You know, it's something we all got to work on, and we all got to get in order. You know, because if somebody is doing things that they have no business, you know, we need to speak on it. You need to hear it. You need correction. You know, and the Lord said, let me get this in the Ecclesiastes, because many don't like to be corrected. Many don't like to be corrected. You know, there was a point in time when I didn't want to be corrected, but you know, when I allowed the Lord to continue to work on me, you know, then I became to a foundation where, you know, things that I needed to be corrected of, you know, I'm no longer rebellious. So this is let me see, I want to get this. This is Sirach in the Apocrypha. This is Sirach in the Apocrypha. This is a good precept, but I want to get another one. This is Sirach chapter 20, and I'm going to start at verse 31. This is Ecclesiasticus in Apocrypha, chapter 20, verse 21, and it reads, better is he that hideth his folly than a man that hideth his wisdom. So, the Lord said a man that hides his folly, you know, is better than somebody that hides their wisdom. So, wisdom is very important, because how can we correct ourselves if we don't understand and if we don't have what we need for that? That's why the Lord gave us prophets. That's why the Lord gave us righteous men to be able to help us. And more so, that's why we have the word in these last days. Now, I also wanted to get, let me get this real quick in Proverbs. This is Proverbs, let me see. This is Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 13, and it reads, he that covered his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. So if you want to continue to do wicked and shun yourself away from those that want to help you, then how can you receive mercy? So the Lord said, if you cover your sins, you're not going to prosper, you know. Now, I also wanted to get verse 9, Proverbs chapter 28, verse 9. And it reads, he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. So if you turn away your ear from hearing the law, which is set in stone to help us, the Lord said your prayers can be an abomination, meaning the Lord is not going to hear you. You know, you also can link that up with Proverbs 15 and 8, you know, as well as St. John 9 and 31. You know, the Lord is going to hear the righteous. Now, there's many precepts we can get on this, but we're going to keep it simple and continue to move along with the lesson. Now, I'm going to get one more. Now, this is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 16, and it reads, Proverbs 21 and verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding. So you wander out of the way of understanding, meaning you no longer want to be corrected. You're going in your own ways, in your own paths, shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So you don't want to be dead. You want to be quickened. You want to be alive. You know, St. John 6 and 63. You know, Ezekiel chapter 37. You know, verse 7 on down. The Lord breathing on us. The Lord bringing us back to life. You know. Now, I want to also get one more, Lord willing. This is Psalms 119 and verse 9. And it reads, Psalms 119 and verse 9. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way, as well as a woman? How can we clean our ways? by taking heed thereto according to thy word. So that's how you're going to cleanse yourself. By taking heed to the word. You know, not just getting in the shower and putting on some Old Spice. You know, putting on feminine products as a woman. You know, Old Spice as a man product. You know, or whatever you want to wash and cleanse yourself with. Dr. Bronner's black soap, or whatever you want to clean yourself with. You know, or whatever water. You know, spotted and blemished. You know, spotted from the dirt that you may have on you. Whatever you want to cleanse yourself with, but this word is going to cleanse you. Now, 2 Peter, because the Lord is coming back. You know, and World War III is prophesied in the Bible. Now, this is 2 Peter chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 9. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 9, and it reads, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. Now, a lot of people may forgot about promises the Lord had made, you know, and they may feel like the Lord has forgot about them. They may feel like the Lord isn't going to do anything. They may feel like that what they may have heard according to the Bible, whether they was in church or whether they was in a household where the Bible was being taught in their households, they may feel like that it's been a long time. Ain't nothing going to happen. Ain't nothing going down. You know, we're going to be here till we die. You know, but the Lord, he going to keep his promises. And that's something you got to believe. 2 Peter 3 and 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward. So the Lord, he's suffering long, seeing that the Israelites are sinning, backsliding, adulterers, whoremongers, idolaters, sorcerers, witches, warlocks, celebrating of heathenistic holy days, holidays, you know, all of these things the Lord is seeing. You know, the Lord seen the Israelites that kept Thanksgiving. You know, the Lord seen somebody eating pork, and he's suffering long. Why is the Lord suffering long? It's going to tell you. But it's long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish. So the Lord doesn't want us to perish. You know, but just so happen it's gotta happen, because hey, we gotta get the evil out of Israel. Somebody gotta be put to death so the evil can be put away. You know, it says, but not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So the Lord wants us to come to repentance, like he says in Luke 13 and 3. Except you repent, you shall all likewise perish. Meaning you're going to be destroyed. Destruction is going to come to you in your household. Maybe your wife. Maybe your husband if you're a woman. Maybe your children. Maybe even your whole congregation. You know. Maybe even your whole family. So the Lord wants us to come to repentance. He wants us to change. He wants us to get our spirit right. Get our minds right. Get our households in order. You know. And stop doing these wicked things that we've been doing for so long. Stop celebrating and following the heathens. You know, stop celebrating their wicked customs, the paganism. You know, verse 10, 2 Peter 3 and 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. And this great noise are these missiles. And these missiles are prophesied in the Bible. You can read about it in Malachi, Jeremiah. You can read about it in Ezekiel. You can read about it in Revelation. You can read about it in Isaiah. You can read about it in the Apocrypha. You can read about it in 2nd Esdras. There's many places we can go and show you that the missiles, the ICBM missiles, are prophesied in the Bible. You know, it's not something we just made up. It's not something that we just heard and then okay, let me write this down and then let me teach it because I want people to follow me. Because I want to be over people. I want to rule over somebody. I want to show people how mighty I am. We don't care about that. You know. What we should be caring about is, are we going to get salvation in that day? And is our spouse going to get salvation? If we marry, is our children going to get salvation? If we have children? Or the brother or the sister next to us, are they spirit on the right level to be able to receive salvation and redemption for all of the trauma that we had to go through as a nation of kings and priests and princesses? You know, Yasharallah, Israel, so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So 2 Peter 3 and 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. This is talking about your modern day Nissan Altimas, you know, your Honda Accords, your Cybertrucks, you know, your two-story mansions, your one-story mansions with your garage. It's talking about your job, Amazon distribution center, Walmart distribution center, wherever you work at. You know, this is talking about your cell phones. These elements will burn. This is talking about your PlayStations, your Xboxes, your iPads, you know. This is talking about your Apple Watches, your Android watches. These things are going to burn. And how are they going to burn? By these missiles, you know. So you're trying to figure out how you can live a life comfortable, you know, and just partying and getting lit and you know, eating abominable foods on a day that the heathen are celebrating, that millions of Native Americans, Gadites, or Reubenites, even the Northern Kingdom was slaughtered. So everything is going to melt that the Lord said it was going to melt. Now, reading this again, 2 Peter 3 and 10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. You see that? So the works and the elements are going to be burned up. Now, verse 11. Verse 11. Make sure you understand this. 2 Peter 3 and 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved. So all of these things are going to be dissolved, as our beloved brother, as a mighty man of the Lord, Peter is explaining. Seeing then all these things shall be dissolved. So, hey, don't worry about your house too much, to the point where you're only worried about materialistic stuff. Because if you only focus on materialistic stuff as a woman, as a man, as well as you may get in a relationship with a woman and a man that's only focused on materialistic stuff, then that's not the person you want to be with. Because you should be with somebody to where you can keep the commandments of God, to where y'all can literally be on the same page, whether or not one is on another level than the other one. Y'all can both help the other one up. So it doesn't matter if, or you shouldn't only look to marry somebody or to be in a relationship with somebody that's on the same level, or they don't make the same money as I do, or they don't look the same. You know, I look better than them. Because all of that doesn't matter. And it's not going to matter when these missiles come to the earth. When Russia, China, and all of these different countries are going to war, and you're trying to figure out what in the world going on. Trying to figure out why people are dying. Trying to figure out why radiation is causing people to have health effects. You're trying to figure out why the economy is collapsing. Trying to figure out why isn't the president doing his job. Trying to figure out why there's no more water. You're trying to figure out why there's no more food. You're trying to figure out why you can't go to church anymore. You're trying to figure out why you don't hear the word being pushed anymore. Trying to figure out where the prophets on the earth, where those Israelites at. You know, nothing is going to matter. Your car, your house, your clothes, your job, your finances, your 401ks, your stock plans, your RAs, whatever you feel like is very important. You know, so you want to be with somebody that you can keep the commandments with, and that you can literally lead to the kingdom of heaven, to the second coming of the Lord and Savior, the Messiah. You know, you should be, if you're in a relationship, or if you're looking to get in a relationship, you want to lead that person into righteousness and better, and help them better themselves. Because like our beloved brother, the mighty man of the Lord, the pillar of the church, you know, the rock of the church, is instructing right here in 2 Peter 3 and 11. He says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved. So a lot of your materialistic stuff that you're worried about is going to be dissolved. So check this out. He's saying, what manner of persons ought you to be? So what manner of person ought you to be? If you're in a relationship in those days, in those times, if you're married in those times, you know, or if you're in a relationship where all y'all doing is just having sex, and just one another is just doing whatever they want to do, you know, Or the opposite is worshiping other false gods, bowing down to demonic gods, you know, tarot card readers, sorcerers. And then the other person, whether or not that person is following God or not, what manner of persons ought y'all to be, you know. So this is a understanding and a look on getting yourself in order, getting yourself and getting your spouse, getting your household, getting your children in order, because your child may be worshiping false gods. You know, your child may love Spider-Man more than they love the Lord, more than they love you. Your child may look to Mickey Mouse, you know, more than they look towards the Lord. Your child could be praying towards a false god, you know, and you just sitting them in front of the TV, giving them an iPad, you just sending them to Disney World, and that's all they want to do. They don't care whether their soul goes to the Lord or not. You know, all they want to do is bow down to these cartoon characters, play video games, and your house is out of order. So you got to get your house in order. Because like Peter's saying, what manner of persons ought you to be? What manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness? 2 Peter 3:12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, so he said, nevertheless, we, Peter is saying, we as Israelites, holy men, righteous men, following the commandments and following the Messiah, Christ, and our almighty heavenly Father, the creator of the heavens and earth, Yahweh, he said, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens, meaning we're looking for a new rulership and a new earth, wherein in the earth righteousness is going to be, you know, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Verse 14, wherefore, 2 Peter 3:14, wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace. So he's saying, have a care, you know. Don't just get in some courtship or some relationship or some marriage where you just only selfish, you know, where you just only care about the worst of the worst. And the worst of the worst could be only physical pleasure, you know, trying to get financial gain from this person, or trying to use this person for your benefit because you got another soul beside you. Or if you're not in a relationship, you may just have a child and you may be divorced or you may be a widow. Don't harm your child and lead their soul down a path where when the Lord comes back, they're going to be destroyed. Because what you teach them, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to follow. So you could be teaching your child how to turn away from the Lord, the Most High God, and they do the same thing. And now when the Lord comes back, that household is going to get burnt up. You know, so you want to have a care. You want to be diligent, as Peter is telling us. Be diligent that you may be found of him in peace. So every day you live, you should be living your life not having to worry about if you're going to die and your soul is going to burn in the lake of fire and those missiles and everlasting torments, you know, without spot and blameless. Or, hey, do you want to be blameless? You know, you're teaching your child the right way to go. You're teaching your spouse the right way to go. You may be getting in a relationship and you laying the foundation. Hey, look, I'm only here to serve the Lord. Do you want to serve the Lord with me or not? You know, versus somebody, they just coming together. I'm only here to have sex. You know, I'm only going to call you to have sex. That's the worst thing to get into, you know, because, hey, if that's the case, then nobody is fearing the Lord. Nobody is following the Lord the way it should be. So let's get another precept. This is Sirach chapter 39, 39. Because these angels, these spirits that the Lord has, they're going to wreak havoc on this place before the Lord gets ready to return. And whenever the Lord gets ready to return, you know, so there are spirits that are set up to issue out the judgment of the Lord. Now, this is in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 and verse 28, and it reads, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. So the Lord has a vengeance. Just like we read earlier in Revelation 22, verse 7, verse 11 and 12. Just like we read in 2 Peter 3 and 10. Just like we read, and I don't think we read Revelation 6, but we're gonna read it though, Lord willing. The Lord has the lake of fire, which you should understand that it's those missiles. World War III, he has that set up for the wicked doers, those that want to live a life of not following his obedience and being obedient to him, not following his instruction. Now, I want to get this in Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 14, which goes into a mushroom cloud. Now, when a lot of times you see videos of a mushroom cloud, and you can even Google a mushroom cloud, when an intercontinental ballistic missile hit the earth, you see a cloud kind of go up, and it kind of look like a mushroom. Now, this is Revelation chapter 6, and I'm starting at verse 14, and it reads, "And the heaven departed as a scroll." And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island will move out of their places. So this is what John the Revelator is seeing. A lot of times when you read Revelation, he's giving a glimpse on what he's seen in his trance or this vision. So he's seen this mushroom cloud, and it goes into, the missiles. Now, he also stated, now I want to get this real quick. It speaks about arrows. He also stated in one verse about the arrows, and you should understand that as to be the missiles. This is what he was giving an example of what it looked like. Now, let me see what. I believe it was stars, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he said stars. Because arrows is in Isaiah, the 9th chapter. So I think it's stars is what I'm looking for on what he was describing. Let me see. Let me see. Now, I know Jeremiah said it, so let's get Jeremiah real quick, because I'm going to have to find that one in Revelation where John the Baptist was describing a missile. It's one that I'm specifically looking for, but we're going to get this in Jeremiah, though. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, and I'm going to start at Jeremiah 51, I'm going to start at verse 11. Jeremiah 51 and verse 11, talking about the missiles. Jeremiah 51 and 11, and it reads, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields." So this is talking about the last days and what's going to happen. That's going to take place according to World War III. Make bright the arrows. Now, in the old days, we had arrows. We had arrows to be able, when we was in war. If you ever study history and go into history, you can look this up. Now, this is a modern day understanding, because the Lord, his vengeance is to come. His ultimate vengeance is to come. Jeremiah 51 and 11. "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord had raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple." So let me get one more Isaiah real quick. Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah chapter 9, and I'm starting at verse 5, and it reads, Isaiah 9 and 5. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5. "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." So fuel of fire, you know, is going into those missiles. You know, because when the Lord comes back, you know, things are going to be destroyed and things are going to be consumed and burnt up. Now I want to get this also in 2nd Esdras. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and still talking about World War III. 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and I'm gonna start at verse 41. 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and verse 41, and the Apocrypha, and it reads, "Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increaseth, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also?" He answered, so like he answered me. Now, when it says the righteous pray for the ungodly, there was a time when Abraham didn't want such to get destroyed, you know, especially when Lot was freeing from Sodom and Gomorrah. There was a time when Jonah didn't want such to get destroyed, according to Nineveh. So the righteous, you know, actually prayed for the ungodly. And how much more now? Verse 42, 2nd Esdras 7 and 42. He answered me and said, "This present life is not the end, where much glory doeth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak." Verse 43, "But the day of doom shall be the end of this time." And now, if you understand the Apocrypha goes into the Greek. You know, it's dealing with the Greek, and the so-called Old Testament deals with the Hebrew, and the so-called New Testament deals with the Greek as well. So if you understand this word doom, the word doom in the Greek goes into destruction, fate, you know. So it's talking about destruction. 2nd Esdras 7 and 43, "But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that had gotten the victory." So we got to look towards what is to come. Now I also wanted to get this in Psalms, the book of Psalms, because King David spoke about this as well. Psalms 11. And yes, King David, he did prophesy. This is Psalm chapter 11 and verse 6, and it reads, I'm going to start at verse 5. Psalms chapter 11 and 5, and it reads, "The Lord tried the righteous, but the wicked, and him that loveth violence, his soul hated." Verse 6, "Upon the wicked," it says, "Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone." So, hey, there go again, fire and brimstone. "And an horrible tempest, this shall be the portion of their cup." So the portion of the wicked doer's cup is going to be fire and brimstone. You know, now let me get Lord willing one more. This is Sirach chapter 21. And I'm starting at verse 9. Sirach chapter 21 and verse 9, and it reads, in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus 21 and verse 9, and it reads, "The congregation of the wicked is like tow wrapped together, and the end of them is a flame of fire to destroy them." So we don't want to be wicked. We want to strive for righteousness. So, you know, making sure we have things in order, you know, before World War III, you know. And the Lord, you know, his timing, even though we see things brewing up according to World War III forming, the Lord's timing is different. You know, things can seem like they're kicking off until its peak, and then it may die back down. It may get back to a peaceable state. Then things may shoot back up, and then next thing you know, bombs are dropping. So you don't want to just go based on what you're hearing and what you're seeing, because, you know, judgment could be issued out according to each and every one's proportion. Now, I want to get this real quick before we get into, getting our house in order, dealing with courting and marriage, which is a very important topic to also talk about in these last days. Now, this is the Apocrypha. Going back to the Apocrypha, this is Sirach chapter 27 and verse 3. Ecclesiasticus 27 and 3, and it reads, unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown. So the Lord can overthrow your house, which we also went into understanding that could be your wife, that could be your children, that could be you, that could be your congregation, that could be your marriage, that could be your courtship, whatever the Lord views and uses as your house. He said, unless, Sirach 27 and 3, unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown. So you want to have a care. You want to have a care for what the Lord gave you, for his word, the faith that the Lord gave you, the knowledge and the wisdom that the Lord gave you, the understanding that the Lord gave you. You want to have a care of it, as well as the Lord giving you your spouse, as well as the Lord giving you your children. Whatever the Lord gave you, you want to have a care for. You don't want to just cast it off and despise it and say, I need to get this money. I need to go to the gym. I need to go play ball. I need to go, play some numbers. I need to go gambling. I need to go play video games. I need to go get me something to eat. I need to go get me a new car. You don't want to cast what the Lord gave off to you to do something else. Even though we understand we got to do things in the society to make things happen, for ourselves and our loved ones and for whomever we have to care for, but most importantly, at first priority, the foundation should be the Lord, So let me get this in Sirach. Now you have spirits that the angels can either alter, because the angel can come and alter on behalf of the Lord, because they work for the Lord. They do what the Lord tells them. Now they can come and send you a strong delusion. They can come and bring judgment. They can send the Lord's prayers, send your prayers back to the Lord. You can read about it in Revelation chapter 8, Tobit chapter 12. So this is in the Apocrypha again, Sirach chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 19. Sirach chapter 4 and verse 19, and it reads, but if he go wrong, she will forsake him. Talking about wisdom. That she's talking about wisdom. But if you go wrong, wisdom can forsake you. And this is talking about wisdom. As you read this and understand it. It says, but if he go wrong, she will forsake him and give him over to his own ruin. So if you forsake the Lord's wisdom, the Lord can give you over to your own ruin. Verse 20, observe the opportunity and beware of evil. So you got to beware of evil. You can do evil towards another. If a man meets a woman, he can do more evil. If a woman meets a man, she can do more evil, because it's not just only you by yourself. Now you're doing evil with another person, another creation that the Lord has brought before you. So it says, 19, it says, if you forsake wisdom, the Lord can give you over to your own ruin. Verse 20, Sirach 4 and 20, observe the opportunity and beware of evil, and be not ashamed when it concerneth thy soul. So you don't want to be ashamed. And a lot of times when you read Psalms, one of my go-to prayers, it says, don't allow me to be ashamed. And I read this with my family. I read this with my household. Now I want to get this real quick, because you can't be ashamed out here, and when you commit wickedness. This is Psalms 25 and verse 20, and it reads, and if you have a household, if you have a family, this is something you should be reading and asking the Lord in your prayers. Psalm 25 and 20, and it reads, oh, keep my soul and deliver me. let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in thee. So ask the Lord to not allow you to be ashamed, you know, because if you ever get to the point, Lord forbid it happens, but anybody that ever gets to the point where they are ashamed, they may not feel ashamed, but you can look ashamed as well, you know. So it's not just based on how you feeling. You can look ashamed, you know. So let me get this in 2 Thessalonians, because the Lord can see you a strong delusion. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 11. Meaning, hey, you think you're doing right, and you think the path you're going is right, but hey, the Lord can alter your mindset. Now, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 11. And not only can the Lord alter your mindset, the Lord can, hey, if you don't want to do what the Lord commands you to do, the Lord can have you meet somebody, and they can jam up your life as well, you know, because for one, whether you believe it or not, your spouse was already ordained to be your spouse, or your lover, or fornicator, or whatever you want to view it as, was ordained from the beginning of the time. Because look, the Lord set all of this up from the beginning of time, and He set things up before they even were formed. Now let me get this in before we get this in 1 Thessalonians 2 and 11, let me get this in Tobit real quick. This is the Apocrypha. Because when you read Tobit, it explains that you had a spouse since the beginning of time. Now this is Tobit chapter 6, and for those before, because we didn't get into marriage yet, for those that understand marriage, you know, Tobit chapter 6 and verse 17, and it reads, Tobit 6 and 17. And the devil shall smell it and flee away. It's talking about this woman having many things that were set up for her to have a husband, but they all died. So this was the act on what was to happen. So the next man that was coming in place wouldn't die as well, if you understand the account on going into Tobit chapter 6. And the devil shall smell it and flee away, and never come again anymore. But when thou shalt come to her, rise up both of you and pray to God Most High, which is merciful, who will have pity on you and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto thee from the beginning, and thou shalt preserve her, and she shall go with thee. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear thee children. Now when Tobias had heard these things, he loved her, and his heart was eventually joined to her. So like the Lord told Tobias, his wife was given to him from the beginning of time. So you got to understand that what you get yourself into, you know, was already predestined, if you can understand. But on another level, you want to do things the right way. And you want to have a care for what you're doing and what you're getting yourself into. Now going back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 11, and it reads, for this cause God Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they shall believe a lie. And this is talking about those that on another level, if you can understand, those that aren't the elect, and those who will be joining unto wickedness. Verse 12, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 12, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So those that have pleasure in unrighteousness, the Lord already instructed and set them up to have a strong delusion. You know, now they don't want to believe in keeping the commandments. Just open up their mouth and saying things. So let's go to Romans chapter 12. Now, this world doesn't do things according to the Bible. So if you always understood marriage being going down the aisle, and if you always understood marriage was going in front of a man to saying, do you take this man, do you take this woman? This world doesn't do things according to the Bible. So when you understand that and the truth aspect of that, you start to understand things a little bit different, and you will be well on your way to understanding the truth. Now this is Romans chapter 12 and verse 2, and it reads, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we can't be conformed to how this world does things. You know, this world does things in a fashion of dating, you know, which courting and dating is not the same. You know, this world does things in a fashion of when you get to know somebody, you're laying down with them the same day. You get to know them. You're already laid down with them and you're still getting to know them. Now, you don't want to do that, even though you may be married to somebody 3 years into the marriage. You're still getting to know that person a little better because y'all still growing. But that's not the same as a one-night stand, and now you know y'all like, okay, we're going to date. And then that next thing you know, you found out that the person you lay down with snorting coke behind closed doors. You know, when all of that should have been discussed during the courtship on getting to know each other. So you can't be conformed to this world, because this world does things in a fashion of they don't put the Bible into perspective of what they should be following, what they should be doing. They don't put righteousness, or they don't put the Most High God into anything. This world doesn't do things like that. So Romans 12 and 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So you want to prove what's the right way to go and what's the will of the Heavenly Father. So now you got to have your house in order. Now let's get this in 2 Kings real quick. This is 2 Kings chapter 20 and verse 1. Because our forefathers, they ordered their house. And as we read this, you're going to find out that they took it very seriously. 2 Kings chapter 20 and verse 1, and it reads, in those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amos, came to him and said unto him, thus said the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. So a prophet came to him and told him, hey, you got to set your house in order. And he did this before he was about to die. You know, so whether you know you about to die or not, because a lot of us don't know when we're going to die. When our soul going to go back to the Lord, we don't know that. Some may very well, because it says in Luke 9 and 27, some shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God. You know, so some very well may be alive until the Messiah comes back, and they may see him coming in the clouds. You know, but you got others, they may die. So they got to order their house right. They should be telling their spouse, hey, do this, follow the Lord, you know, stop doing this, ask the Lord for forgiveness and mercy and repent. Hey, look, my son, my daughter, my child, do this. Because if I die today, I don't want you to keep doing this. So I'm teaching you and showing you the right way to go. So that's what Isaiah did and went before Hezekiah and told him, you know, so you got to set your house in order. Now, I also wanted to get 2nd Esdras. Let's go back to 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras chapter 14 and verse 13, and it reads, 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha chapter 14 and verse 13. And it reads, now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people. Comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. So the Lord commanded, you know, through the spirit and power of the Most High, you know, through Ezra, to get our house in order and reprove thy people. Whether it be your congregation, whether it's yourself, whether you got a spouse, or whether you got children, whatever the case be, you know. Verse 14, 2nd Esdras 14 and 14. Let go from thee mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. So the Lord said the evils are going to increase. So we have to get our household in order. Now let me get this from Paul. This is 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 40, and it reads, let all things be done decently and in order. So plain as day, we gotta have things done decently and in order. Not just things, but all things. Every single thing we do has to be done decently and in order. And we may not be able to get that right. We may not be able to do that perfectly to the T, but we should be striving, rehearsing the righteous acts of the Lord to have things in order, you know. And like I always like to say, you know, before I go on the highways and byways and teach people that I've never met, guess what? I have to have myself in the right path. I have to make sure my children are in the right path. I have to make sure my wife is in the right path. I have to make sure things are in order as following and striving after righteousness. But because what I look like having things out of order and then going out there just to talk to random strangers that I never met, but when I come home, things is definitely out of order. That's a hypocrite, you know, and that's not doing things in order. So you as a woman, you know, you should be having your children in subjection and teaching your children the right way to go. And you as a man, you should be having your wife and your children in the aspect of following righteousness and doing things in the same fashion as you're doing, not being a hypocrite, but moving in the spirit of being a man and a woman of God and children of God. So let me get this in Hebrews chapter 13. Because I don't know too many people that's just laying down with one another, you know, and not want to do that for a purpose. As we have to state that if you lay down with somebody and do grown folk stuff, it should be to bring forth life into this world, to bring forth life. If you can, as a woman, if you can have children, that should be the whole purpose, you know. And most of the time, a lot of these women can, unless something is unknown or hidden that these women don't understand, you know. But taking Plan B's and getting the shots as a woman, that's not the biblical way to go. That's not the righteous way to go. That's not the obedient way to go if you're a woman striving for righteousness and following the Lord and calling yourself a Proverbs 31 woman or calling yourself a woman of God. Now, you could be young, could be 16, 17, whatever the case may be. And if that's the case, you should be dealing with somebody, you know. If that's the case, you should be growing in the Lord. But we understand how this society is and how the pressure of this world is. And you know, trying to keep it very PG rated, because you never know who's watching, who's understanding, or who's tuning in. But, you know, to avoid fornication, you know, you got to do things in a rightful sense on how the Lord laid the foundation, you know. Now, this is Hebrews chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse 4, and it reads, marriage is honorable in all. So the Lord looks at marriage very serious to understand that. So you can't look at marriage as, okay, I'm going to do that when I get old. I'm going to do that when I'm done having fun. That's not how the Lord looks at it. You know, it's a very serious matter. So you want to order your house in a serious manner. Now, this is an account that happened to somebody that didn't have their house in order. Now, this is Eli. We're going to touch on what happened to Eli. Now, this is 1 Samuel chapter 3. And I'm going to start at verse... I want to get straight to the point, but I want to make it edifying. This is 1 Samuel 3 and 8, and it reads, and the Lord called Samuel again the third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, here am I, for thou didst call me. And Eli, which is the priest, which was teaching Samuel, which Samuel was under him, and Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. Therefore Eli said unto Samuel, go, lie down, and it shall be, if he call thee, that thou shalt say, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Verse 10, 1 Samuel 3 and 10. And the Lord came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, speak, for thy servant heareth. And the Lord said to Samuel, behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of every one that heareth it shall tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever. So the Lord, through the mouth of Samuel, you know, the Lord told Eli he was about to judge him. You know, so this is a very important thing we have to understand, because when things go wrong, the Lord can judge our house. The Lord can judge us. The Lord can judge others in our house. And even if it's not just you, it can affect you. So if you don't understand that, if you don't believe that, go to Job and see what happened to Job's children. See what happened to Job's cattle. You know. So reading down 1 Samuel 3 and verse 14. I'm going to start at verse 13. 1 Samuel 3 and 13. For I have told him that I would judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. So, hey, if you don't want to correct your child, the Lord, he can judge you and your children. And that's what happened to Eli. Verse 14. And therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifice, nor offering forever. So you can pray, you can fast, you can do this, you can make sacrifices, but if the Lord commands that that is not going to work, you're going to find yourself in a bad case. Verse 15. And Samuel lay until the morning, and opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel feared to shew Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. And he answered, here am I. And he said, what is this thing that the Lord had said unto thee? I pray thee, hide it not from me. God most high do so to thee, and more also, if thou hide anything from me of all the things that he said unto thee. So he said, hey, tell me what the Lord showed you in your vision. Tell me what the Lord told you. He said, if you don't, you know, very well it be upon you. Verse 18, 1 Samuel 3:18. And Samuel told him every whit, and hid nothing from him. And he said, it is the Lord. Let him do what seemeth him good. And so when you read the next chapter, you know, his sons, they died in battle, as well as him himself. He fell out of the chair and broke his neck, and he died as well. You know, so let me get this real quick. This is Sirach chapter 26, because women, they gotta order their house as well. It's not just only the man, the woman got to order her house as well. Because the woman can be judged as well. Now this is we're going back to the Apocrypha in Ecclesiastes chapter 26. We're going back to the Apocrypha. Sirach 26, and we're gonna start at verse 16, and it reads, as the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. So if you're a wife, you know, you should be ordering your house. You should be setting things in order for according to righteousness. You know. So we're about to touch on courting and what courting is. But before we do that, you know, we gotta remember the law of the Most High God. So let me get this in Malachi. This is Malachi chapter 4. So this all is in accordance to courtship and marriage. Because if you understand that, then you understand what the Most High has instructed for us as Israelites. Now this is Malachi chapter 4 and verse 4, and it reads, "Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments." So the Lord said, remember the law. Don't forget it. Remember the law. Now let me get this in Psalms real quick. This is Psalms 119, and this is a mighty chapter as well. This is a beautiful chapter, Psalms 119. Psalms 119, and I'm going to start at verse 163, and it reads, Psalms 119 and verse 163. It says, "I hate and abhor lying, but thy law do I love." So we should be loving the law so much to the point that, if we are getting to know somebody, we want to make sure that's well known as well unto them, as well as in our marriage, being many years into our marriage, we're going to make sure that thing is still flickering like a flame and still brewing, and still fervent and still mighty, Now let me get this in Sirach chapter 2. Sirach chapter 2 and verse 16. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 16, and it reads in the Apocrypha, "They that fear the Lord will seek," it says, "they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law." So if you love the Lord, you're going to do what's pleasing unto him, which is the commandments. You're not going to just do your own thing. You're not going to do what's pleasing to your spouse or to your friend. You're going to do what's pleasing to the Lord. Because the Lord, he holds all of the cards. The Lord controls everything. The Lord can stop and shut down anything. So, courting. Now before we get into this, I want to read this real quick. Now this is courting versus dating. I already had it in my notes. It says, what is the difference? It says courting versus dating. What is the difference? It's a little small, so I'm gonna have to read it for you. So courting. It says courting. Now I don't see anybody doing this in this society, but this is all. Hey, this is biblical. Courting. Parents must give and guide their permission and blessing to court their daughter, which is biblical. Dating. No permission needed for dating. So that's the difference from courting versus dating. And then the next one is, and this you can look at this. This is a survey from the internet. You can just look this up on your own. Courting. Man approaches the lady in courting versus dating. Anyone can approach the other in dating. Now courting, the ultimate goal of courting is marriage. Versus dating, no expectation of engagement or marriage in dating. So as you understand, as you witness, dating is more of a lustful and a more fornicative aspect, versus courting is trying someone before y'all actually get real serious. Now, courting. no physical intimacy in courtship versus dating, discovering sexual compatibility before marriage allowed in dating. So as we stated, you know, courting is a sexual, dating is a sexual free ride, you know, just do what you want. But courting, as it says, no physical intimacy in courtship. And this is the way it should be when you're courting. You shouldn't be having sex when you're courting, you know, nor discovering one another's secret parts or doing anything to that nature. Because you want to make sure this is right. You want to try this person. You want to prove this person. Now, courting, it says only one partner at a time during courtship versus dating multiple people at a time, not unusual. So somebody may have in their mind, you know, I'm dating someone, but at the same time, while they're dating you or whoever, you know, or however it used to be in the world, they may very well be talking to somebody else, you know. Just imagine you dating a woman. And this is why you should be in the lines of the truth and being in the truth. Because in the truth, we don't date. You know, we court, we prove that person. As well as on the other side, that person is proving us. So just imagine you're dating someone and you texting and sending pictures and you getting to know that woman or dealing with that woman. And then another man, he doing the same thing. So that's what dating is, according to the world. Now, courtship lasts up to 1 year before marriage. This isn't biblical, but this is an ideal, you know, versus dating. No timeline for dating. So, hey, you know, people in the world not following the commandments and instructions of the Lord, they may be dating for 12 years and may have 4 children, you know. Y'all got to stop playing, you know, and be serious. And within that dating and within those children, they done slept around with other people and might have had another child with another person, but still may go home to each other and to their children and may still very well label their relationship as dating. I'm dating this guy. I'm dating this woman, which is wicked. You know, so we were just listing off the differences from courting and dating. You can look this up on your own. But this is why we're going into this, you know. Now I want to get this in. I want to get this real quick. So when you're courting, this is if you strive to court, or if you come into the truth of the Most High and you want to court, this is how you should be doing it. This is the lesson that you should be tuning into to find yourself on what you should be doing. So like this is Sirach in the Apocrypha. This is Ecclesiasticus, which is also another name for Ecclesiasticus. It is Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7, and it reads, "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first." Because look, understanding your spouse, you want to be friends with that person. You know, y'all should be best friends. The woman if you a man, the woman you find yourself spending the rest of your life with, she should be your best friend. And if you're a woman, the man that you plan on spending the rest of your life with, he should be your best friend. You know, y'all should be able to connect with one another on a spiritual level, on a physical level, getting to know each other. And this is all according to courting, you know. For if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first. So prove that person first. You know, ask them questions. You may have to ask uncomfortable questions. You may have to talk about family matters. You know, what happened when you was a child. You know, you may have to, let this person know that you was raped. You know, You ain't got to do it right off the bat, right as soon as you meet that person. But within that courtship, you know, you may have to let this person know that you didn't have a decent relationship with your father. You didn't have a decent relationship with your mother. You know, you may have to let this person know that you was homeless at one point in time. Or hey, you might be sleeping in a hotel. You may have to let this person know this. You ain't got to hide stuff, and you shouldn't be hiding stuff. You know, because the more trust you give to the Most High, you can't hold back trust from the Most High. You can't say, well, I can't tell them this, I can't show them this. Well, that's showing the Lord, and that's viewing how much faith you are putting into this courtship, into this foundational relationship that you want to be in the future of marriage, you know. So you got to prove that person. You got to see if that person is fit for the lifestyle that you're willing to live according to following the Heavenly Father. How do they view spiritual things? How do they view prayer? How do they view fasting? Abstaining from food for a period of 24 hours. No food, no water, no washing, no brushing teeth. Have they ever done it? What are their aspects on doing it in the future? You know, what do they understand about the Sabbath? What do they understand about wearing fringes? You know, because hey, that's what we should be doing. We should be keeping the commandments of God. You know, what do they understand about covering up their head, putting a dress on as a woman? You know, what do they understand about reading the Word, staying in the Word? You know, making sure you stay in the Word. You know, what they say? I can't. I'm not reading the Bible every day. You know, or what if you're a woman? What would that man tell you? Oh, nah. You know, I believe in a higher power. You know, I believe that there's a spiritual realm, but you know, that Bible stuff, I'm not dealing with that. Hey, you got to talk about these things. You know, that's proving that person. You know, that's putting that person on trial. You know, which may go up to a duration of 6 months, 3 months. There's no timetable on how long your courtship should last, but you should have a checklist on things that you're looking for and things that need to be talked about, things that need to be discussed. You know, and I have right here, before you get married, things you should talk about. So during your courtship, it may be too small for you to see it. I'm going to just read it. I'm going to just go along with it. So before you get married, discuss bills. That's something a lot of people may not be comfortable with. But hey, you got to figure out what's something convenient for you. You know, and what's something that's going to help you before World War III takes place. Parenting styles. You know, you got to ask that person, do they see themselves being a parent? You know, if they aren't already, you know, because you may get into a courtship or a marriage and get serious with somebody. They may already have kids. You know, credit. Some people, hey, they may feel like credit is a big thing. You know, because hey, a lot of times in this society, you know, not that it's very well needed to get to the kingdom of heaven, because very well a lot of people are gonna be homeless when the Lord cracks the sky and comes in the clouds. So shouldn't stress yourself out on credit or trying to get a house. But you know, you got to understand that in this society, a lot of times when you get a job, they look at your credit, and you got to understand that a lot of times when you get a house, they look at your credit. But it's not the foundational needs in order to get the kingdom of heaven. The religion, I mean, this is just something I'm listing off. A lot of times that people like to ask when they get to know somebody how to deal with family, because some people they very well may be family oriented. You know, they may be well rooted in being around family. So, you know, these things may be needed to be discussed when you are in a courtship. What beliefs would be instilled in your children? You know, that's very big. Childhood traumas. So all of these things, you might have to put them on the table when you're dealing with courtship. Sexual expectations, you know, partner expectations, financial expectations, family health history, mental health history, bucket list, dream home, careers and education, political views, and whatever else come to mind. So, hey, these are things you may have to talk about when you are trying to deal with somebody and get to know them, and dealing with courting, you know, which the biblical understanding for dating is courting. So dating isn't something that the Israelites should be doing, but the aspect and understanding should be courtship, getting to know that person. So reading this again, Sirach 6 and 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So don't just go off what they're saying. You know, you want to see some actions as well. You want to see if that person is backing up what they're saying with their actions and not being a hypocrite. And you're not hasty to credit them. So you want to also make sure that you're you hold fast your integrity, you know, because you don't want to fold. You don't want to just try to rush things to try to get into the bed with that person. You don't want to try to rush things to try to make that switch towards your marriage, because you want to make sure you're making the right decision. Verse 8. Sirach 6 and 8. For some man, a woman or man, is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble. So in the day of your trouble, the Lord may try you. And that person, they may not be patient enough when you may be going through something. Because when you got to understand, when you fall in the Lord, you're going to get tried. Your faith is going to get tried. Everything around you is going to get tried. Because like Acts 14 and 22 says, it says, conform the souls, that we through much tribulation shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. So that person may not be patient, you know. They may not be able to deal with affliction without waiting on the Lord and doing things in an aspect of righteousness. They may try to do things based on their own strength or financial strength, you know. So you got to understand that as well. So courting, you know, still dealing with courting. Now let's get Amos chapter 3. Amos chapter 3, this is what you should be doing and going through when you're getting to know somebody and seeing if that person is fit for your lifestyle with waiting for the Messiah to come. Now this is Amos chapter 3 verse 3, and it reads, can two walk together except they be agreed? So how can y'all walk together except y'all come to an agreement? You know, these are things you gotta deal with and understand when you're dealing with another person, you know, before World War III comes, before those missiles drop, before the Messiah returns, before the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua. You know, can y'all walk together and be agreed, you know, when it comes to the Lord's commandments, his laws, his statutes, you know, the lifestyle that you should be living, striving to be under the same household, under the same roof, you know. So can two walk together except y'all be agreed, except y'all come to an agreement? You don't want to be with somebody where y'all can't agree on things, you know. So all of this has to take place in the understanding of it when y'all are getting to know each other. Now, I want to get this also in Proverbs. This is Proverbs chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 20. Proverbs 11 and 20, and it reads. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 20, and it reads, they that are of a forward heart are an abomination to the Lord, but such as are upright in their way are his delight. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Now, you don't want to be hand joined in hand with a wicked doer, or somebody that don't even believe in the Heavenly Father, or don't even want to follow his instructions, or try to better themselves. Because you may not meet somebody, you know, you may meet somebody that's you know, already doing bad. You know, not just financially, but they may be living a lifestyle of wickedness, you know, which you're not always gonna find a case where somebody is righteous and you striving to be righteous. You ain't always gonna have that case. But you gotta understand that you can't just be around somebody that want to remain wicked. You know, that's the understanding of this precept, this verse. Hand joining wicked. You know, you're not going to go unpunished. You know, so your spouse or your friend that you're trying, you know, if they're pleased to be in wickedness, you got to understand that that isn't going to be a good look for you. You know, if you're striving to be righteous. Now, this is 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 2. Also, what you got to understand when quoting. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 22, and it reads, flee also youthful lust. Let me read that one more time. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness. So you can't be following your lustful ways and your lustful thoughts. You know, somebody got to stand up and say, well, I want to follow after righteousness. I want to stand up for righteousness. I want to do things right. You know, both of y'all can't be following youthful lust. You know, even though we know everybody's not going to be on the same page in the beginning, or very well a good amount of time for y'all knowing each other. But if y'all are, hey, y'all praise to the Most High. But somebody got to stand up and say, we can't do this. We got to do this. This is what we got to do. And somebody got to be firm and rooted and grounded in that, following the Lord. You know, because this is very well how your marriage can go from, or your friendship or your relationship or your courtship can go from being wicked to righteous. You know, so it says 2 Timothy 2 and 22. Flee also youthful lust, meaning hey, get away from it, let it go. You know, follow something that's rightful. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith. This is what y'all supposed to be following: faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Out of a pure heart, as it said, not faking it, not doing it just to be seen, and not doing it and faking it just to get that person to think that you're, you know, agreeing with them. It says out of a pure heart. Now, let me get this in Jeremiah, because you don't want to fake that thing. Because a lot of people, they may get into a courtship or a marriage and they may fake it. Now, this is Jeremiah 29 and verse 11, and it reads, I'm going to start at verse 29. Jeremiah 29 and 11, and it reads, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So we want the Lord to give us an expected end. You know, because you may have children involved in this. You may have, you know, a family involved in this. So you want the Lord to give you an expected end, and not an end of wickedness and being judged for your wickedness. Verse 12, then shall ye call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. So you want that whole situation, and within that whole situation, if y'all ever need to call upon the Lord, which that's a commandment, calling upon the Lord. If y'all ever need to call upon the Lord, or as well as if y'all ever come in grips of calling upon the Lord, he can hear you and hearken unto you. So this is First Corinthians. Let's get another one. 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And I'm going to start at verse 31, and it reads. It says, whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, whatsoever you do. It says whatsoever you do. Meaning, anything you do, everything you do, do all to the glory of Most High God. So within your marriage and within your courtship, you should be glorifying the Lord. How can you glorify the Lord if you just met this person and you saying, oh man, you look good, you know? I automatically know this gonna work out, and you just judge it based on the outward appearance. How can you glorify the Lord if you just make your decision based on the outward appearance? You know, there's no suffering. You know, you just giving in to the flesh. You know, because the last time I checked, the Lord, let me get this right quick. Sacrificing, hey, that's, you know, how we used to do, according to how we used to do back in the days. When you make your body a living sacrifice, that's actually a old way of how we used to sacrifice animals. So if we're sacrificing, not giving it to the flesh, but suffering, giving up time to glorify the Lord, hey, we're putting sacrifices on the altar, animal sacrificing, which we don't do anymore, but we're using our body. We're not laying down directly right off the bat with this person. You know, we're saying we're getting to know each other, and I'm gonna make this a way of glorifying the Lord. And this is Romans chapter 12, verse 1, and it reads, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Most High God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, meaning set apart, acceptable unto Most High God, which is a reasonable service. So Paul told us our reasonable service is being set apart, not doing things how everybody else doing. You know. So hey, we gotta wait. You know, we gotta get the approval first. So courting, you know, is an aspect of waiting, getting to know that person, doing things in a fashion of being patient. Now this is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 11. I mean Revelation 14 and 12. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12, and it reads, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Most High God, and the faith of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So we're all waiting for the Lord to return. You know, if you understand your position as an Israelite, you should be waiting for the Lord. You know, but while you're patient, this is the patience of waiting for the Lord. This is what we should be doing while we're waiting for the Lord. We're keeping His commandments, and we're having faith and believing on the Messiah. So you know, we're not going to take up too much time, but you know, you want to strive to get to the marriage point. Now, marriage is what we stated in a video prior, maybe about 2 weeks ago. We touched on adultery and we touched on fornication. So if you haven't seen that video, you can go back to the videos and tune in to the adultery aspect and the fornication aspect if you haven't already seen that. And we went into a little bit as well what marriage is. But I'm gonna get this in Genesis real quick, because we do gotta go to camp, Lord willing. So marriage is when a man and a woman lay down together and they have sex. You know, and that sex brings that marriage and consecrates that marriage. And the Most High and the angels is the witness in accordance to that covenant. You know, now you had a thing where the father and the mother would, if that woman was a virgin, which if that woman was never married, the father and the mother, according to the law, would go in, according to Exodus 22, and they would take the sheets and use that as a witness, as a receipt, to show that their daughter was a virgin, and their blood being on the sheets. Because if you ever understand, if you never had any intercourse, any sexual intercourse as a woman, then how they say in the world, pop the cherry. If you can understand, that would be an aspect of the token to show that their daughter was a virgin. But we understand now in these days and age, this is an adulterous generation. So a lot of people aren't virgins. But we do have repentance through Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. But we can't go back doing the same thing once we seek and go for a new man and a new woman, seeking repentance and forgiveness for our old ways. Now this is Exodus 22:16, and it reads, "And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed," meaning promised to, or engaged, "and lie with her," meaning he has sex with her, "he shall surely endow her to be his wife," meaning prove her, endow her to be his wife. And if her father surely, so like Exodus 22:17, if her father utterly refused to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. So he shall pay according to the dowry of virgins. So a lot of times our culture, and we've been stripped from that. And you can read about that in Jeremiah chapter 17. We've been stripped from our customs. So a lot of times our customs isn't somewhat the basics now. The basics in this world is fornication. But we have to come back to the aspect of how we used to do things in our rightful culture. Now I also wanted to get this real quick. Let me see. I want to get this precept. I ain't went into this precept in a while. This is, let me see. I want to get this precept real quick. This is locking. Let me find this. This is Genesis 34 and verse 11, and it reads, let me see, I want to start up a little bit, but I don't want to make this whole thing too long. This is Genesis 34 and verse 1. Genesis chapter 34 and verse 1, and it reads, "And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come." So he already was up on game and knew that he had already defiled her. But the aspect of it, it should have went according to verse 11 and verse 12. Not trying to read this whole thing, but verse 11. Genesis 34 and verse 11. "And Shechem said unto her father, and unto her brother, Let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me, and I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife." So how we used to do, we used to go before the father, and we used to ask for permission according to before we was marrying and given into marriage. But according to Genesis 34, that wasn't the case. You know, he actually took that daughter before he went into her, you know, and defiled her, you know, and it was so much so that, you know, according to our ancient customs, you should have been circumcised, and you should have followed the commandments, you know. But more so, you know, he went on ahead and did his thing first before going to the Father, as well as the father and the mother would make arrangements to have the sheet already set in place, and then after they would take the sheets and use that just in case somebody would try to come back and say that that woman wasn't a virgin. Now I want to get real quick. I wanted to get this real quick. I wanted to get this real quick. I'm not trying to be too long, but this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, and trying to speed this up. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, and I want to get verse 27. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and verse 27, and it reads. Let me see. I wanted to go up a little bit. Let me see where I want to start at. This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14, and let me see. 26. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 verse 26, and it reads. I'm gonna start at verse 24. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 24 in the Apocrypha, and it reads, they kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled, but either one slew another traitorously, or grieved him by adultery, so that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, death, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men, forgetfulness of good turns, defiling of souls, changing of kind, disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanness. So all of this goes back to idolatry and coveting. So, you know, we want to do things in the aspect of righteousness where we're not defiling one another's soul, and where we're having our marriage and our courtships in order of righteousness. So we want to have other souls in care of, you know, not being destroyed by the Most High for the wickedness that may be done under the household, under the roof, or whatever rules and regulations are being put out in the household. Now I want to get this in Proverbs chapter 18. So Lord willing, this was edifying to you. Lord willing, we can continue to do more series on or however you want to pronounce it, or you know, my wording may be off, my pronunciation may be off. A series of getting our house in order before World War III. So this is Proverbs 18 and 22, and it reads, whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord. So this should be, if you're quoting, this should be a futuristic righteousness of you finding some beautifulness and righteousness if you're a man in that woman for finding a good thing in the eyes of the Lord. And if you're a woman, your future husband, if you're courting, or your husband finding some good according to the Lord in you. So Lord willing, this was edifying to you. This is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3. Gotta go to camp, Lord willing, on the highways and byways. This is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3, and it reads, Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee. So regardless of what you're going through in this world, you know, in this society, in this world of evilness, that we have to patiently wait until the Lord returns and comes. You know, you want to be in peace, you know, keeping the commandments and the faith, you know, striving for righteousness, getting your household in order. Verse 4, Isaiah 26 and 4, Trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Yahweh is everlasting strength. So there's always going to be strength when you're following and striving to follow after the Lord, and you're doing what the Lord told you to do. So it's many other precepts that we wasn't able to touch on for time restraints. Lord willing, you know, we can touch on some more of that, you know, until time come. But peace and blessings to you. Shabbat Shalom to those that keep the Sabbath, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And also, as the sun go down tonight, if you keeping the feast days and the high holy days according to the truth and the understanding of being an Israelite, the new moon is at sundown tonight. So be mindful of that. You can read about that in Numbers 10 and 10, Isaiah 81. You know, for those that may not be in awareness of it, Isaiah 81. But due to time, not Isaiah 81, but Psalms 81. You know, Psalms 81 and verse 3. I'm trying to figure out what else precepts I need to speak about. You got Isaiah 80, Psalms 81 through verse 4. You got Numbers 10 and 10. You got Ecclesiasticus and Apocrypha chapter 43 verses 6 on down. You got Sirach 33. You know, you got Leviticus Leviticus 23, the beginning of your months, you know, which we follow the calendar, you know, and do things, the start of the new moon. For those that's keeping it at sundown, it will be the new moon through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah, which is another month. For those that understand, you know, at sundown, you know, it is a new month for us at sundown, and it's the 9th month for those that understand. So, Lord willing, you keep that to the best of your ability, which it is a Sabbath, you know, and it's a time period where we feasting and we're thanking the Most High in the spirit of gladness and mirth and joyfulness, thanking the Most High for another month, you know, because we do have high holy days. You know, we understand the world just kept so-called wicked Thanksgiving, where my people, the Gadites, the Native Americans, the Reubenites were slaughtered. You know, so we have holy days as well, where we come together with family, Israelite family, and celebrate and give thanks and glorify the Most High. Peace and blessings to you, Lord willing. You endure and keep the Shabbat to the best of your ability, and continue to stay prayed up and strive to fast more and pray and stay in the Word. But Lord willing, if you're courting, and if you do strive to court, you do it in the aspect of righteousness. And best believe World War III is on the way. As we touched on, Lord willing, it's more precepts that we can touch on this. Lord willing, we can go into World War III, Armageddon, in a different video, in a different lesson. Peace and blessings to you, Fisherman of Zion. Lord willing, you enjoy this video and you find it edifying. Shabbat Shalom. Kom Yeshua.